Okay, so I'm currently in Iceland right now and I'm here for a vacation. I'm having such a lovely time so far and it's been so wild, amazing seeing all the glaciers and the mountains and the waterfalls and everything. And I thought, why don't I begin my journey with reading Vinland Saga while I'm here? It is my mission on my manga channel to get through as many amazing stories as I possibly can. And I have read the first volume of Vinland Saga before, but only the first 8 chapters. I never actually finished this collection. And I did this one for a challenge. Can't remember which one it was. And I remember liking it, but it hasn't really stuck with me since. But I thought because I am coming to Iceland, this would be genuinely perfect to begin, and that's what I'm about to do. So this follows Thorfinn, and he is raised by the Vikings who murdered his family. So now he is vowing revenge years later. So Thorfinn is trying to find Askeladd, who killed his father, and that is the revenge story. I love revenge stories, so it should be a good one. I don't think it's just about revenge, though. I do believe there is a place called Vinland, which is this place that will promise prosperity, a new future, a happier future. And I think it's time to get stuck in, since I am going to be stuck in this hotel because of severe weather warnings until the morning. I finished the first chapter, and one of the main reasons why I started to read Vinland Saga in Iceland is because apparently this is set in Iceland, or at least the start of it is, and I can't really feel that at the minute because the story really just focused on this really intense battle. And I say intense battle, like by the time you get to the end of the first chapter, you realize it's kind of more in good fun in a way, because the goal of the Sword of Siege is the main characters, like, okay, so we have Thorfinn and we have Askeladd, and Askeladd, his men are helping this person who looks like a frog. Yeah, this frog guy, I believe he hired them as mercenaries, called the Normani, hired them to help with this siege of this fortress, I guess to get these riches. I really don't know. It was a little bit hard to follow. The first chapter was a little bit hard to follow. A lot of action going on. Not really a whole lot of explanation of why they're there or why they're fighting. But I do get the sense that it was the Normani being hired by this frog person to help with sieging this fortress, claiming this fortress, and the spoils were supposed to be like halved to them. But the mercenaries, Askeladd, his men, bamboozled and tricked and fooled the froggy looking man, and now they have taken off with the treasure. So I did find all of that pretty exciting. Usually I find it a little bit hard to follow battle sequences. Like, while the story so far I am finding a little bit hard to follow because, again, not really being explained what is happening. I am getting a lot of the action bits. So in terms of the illustration, so this is written and illustrated by Makoto Yukimura, and I genuinely think the illustration of like the fight scenes are some of the best ones I've seen, because a lot of the times when I read battle sequences, I can't see what's happening on the page because it's going by so fast and there's so many lines and it's really hard to follow. But this one, actually, the battle in action is very easy to follow in that sense. It's just the story's a little bit harder at the minute, but we're going to get there. We will get there. And I do like Thorfinn as a character. He seems to be someone who's going to be underestimated a lot, especially since a lot of the mercenary guys, because he ends up killing the captain, because a lot of the like soldiers on the other side, when Thorfinn kills the captain, they're kind of like, oh, he was just a kid. So I feel like he's going to be someone who a lot of people underestimate. And I also feel like Askeladd will also underestimate Thorfinn, especially since now Thorfinn has challenged him to a duel. So that's going to be really exciting, so that he can avenge his father. So like literally whatever we were told on the back of this book is already pretty much happening. So beyond that, I have no idea what's going to go on. I vaguely remember the kind of battles and the confrontation the first time I read it. I vaguely remember that part, but I genuinely do not remember the next 7 chapters, because I did read the first 8 chapters from what I recall. and I just can't remember a single thing about them. It might come back to me the more I read. But yeah, I love that panel of Thorfinn running over this moat and jumping over this moat and all of these arrows coming at him. That was a fantastic panel. I love that. But yeah, so far, so good. I'm more intrigued by the action than I am the story so far, which usually is the other way around. Usually I'm not the biggest fan of like the action sequences or anything like that. I much prefer plot and, you know, character and stuff like that. But so far, yeah, I've definitely been more intrigued by how battle heavy the first chapter was. Very excited to see if we incorporate more of Iceland, as I'm in Iceland right now, just to see if I can like spot little things that might remind me of Vinland Saga. But yeah, it's quite late, and I am going to try and read like maybe the next 3 chapters tonight, and then I will see what happens next. Good morning. It is very bad weather right now. It's feeling like -9 degrees Celsius apparently, and we still have the severe weather warning too. So yeah, the weather's not great here. However, what is great is my progress on the first collected volume of Vinland Saga. So I have read the first 6 chapters. I'm now on chapter 7, and I really enjoyed what I was reading last night before I went to bed. Some things did come back to me, but the majority of this is a total blank still. But yeah, that fight between Thorfinn and Askeladd, yeah, I liked it. I feel like Thorfinn is going to be somebody who is so driven, and he will not stop until he has avenged his father, of course. But the fact that he fails, like he is the main character who fails at that in the very first few chapters, is very interesting to me. Mainly because it was getting built up to, and he did seem like he was really, really good, especially on the battlefield. Like he was so quick. He killed one of the captains before. He literally like took someone's head off, I think, at one point as well. Like it's so violent and bloody, and he has no qualms with getting his, you know, hands dirty. And it's reminding me a little bit of Berserk, a little bit, because now we've kind of gone back, you know, so like after Thorfinn has, you know, failed at killing Askeladd, he sees his father, and his father is like, I know you want to avenge me, but you'll have to figure out what it means yourself to be a warrior. So I think, like, this is my prediction now. I like predicting things sometimes. I feel like Thorfinn is going to realize that killing Askeladd is not going to bring his father back. So I feel like maybe he might start to move away from that goal. And especially since that the slave who was, you know, being beaten by the uncle, Askeladd's uncle, Hordaland. I feel like now that he's met her and she talks about a place of being free, and like she wishes for something like that. And then we have that flashback 10 years before where Thorfinn was a kid and when his dad was alive, and we are hearing about Vinland, which is supposed to be a land of being free. So I am thinking like after this flashback, we will get Thorfinn probably abandon his... No, maybe not. I feel like you're still going to want to do that for a while anyway, but the main driving force for him will be finding Vinland. And it's kind of heartbreaking seeing him go from this shell of a human who was only thinking of killing one person because they killed his father, to seeing this child, because that flashback sequence, I love the transition. The flashback Thorfinn, the 10 years younger version of him, the child, is so full of like happiness and eagerness, and he just wants to be a warrior, and he wants to sail the seas with his dad and that Leaf person, I think his name is. He has like an eye for adventure, and he just seems like such a happy kid. And it does remind me of Berserk. It reminds me of Guts, how we have him as a child. And even then, actually, Guts' childhood was a lot more traumatized. Like he never really had a good moment, essentially. But that kind of transition where we see Guts in the Black Swordsman arc, and he is this hardened swordsman, and he's just killing people, and we don't really know why. And then we go back and we see why. So I feel like this is kind of the same kind of trajectory that we're going on, which I do love. I love that, because now I feel even more invested in Thorfinn and how he got to the place he's in, and seeing his father as well. I feel so bad about his father now. His dad seems so nice. Like when they find that slave in the snow and they nurse him back to health-ish, and then he unfortunately passes away, and that Halfdan man person comes. I will say a lot of the characters look very interesting. Like Halfdan's face is like the way it's drawn. I don't know, there's some kind of coldness there, there's some distance there, which I really do feel through the illustration, a little bit like the froggy person in the first couple of chapters. I feel like Makoto has a good way of, you know, drawing villains or like antagonists. Oh, in the way that he just wrapped the chain around that guy's face and just goes, psh. Oh my god, that was vile. It's already been so unforgiving. The violence has been so unforgiving. But yeah, we really do see Thor's, his name is like Thorfinn's dad. The way that again, breaks my heart. The way that he gave this slave hope, he gave him hope. And even though the slave was dying, and he said, Dad, and like he calls, Thor's dad, and he was saying Vinland in a way, like as he was passing away, he was saying Vinland. I'm also wondering, is Vinland like a Valhalla kind of place? Is it kind of a death place, a heaven, so to speak? Like, does it actually exist? This is my question now. Like, I'm really seriously questioning Vinland as a place, especially since his slave was, well, thinking he was saying it, which I think is just more of a comfort as he's passing away, which again was just heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. But the fact that Thors was going to buy him off Halfdan and gave so many ewes, so much sheep, just to buy this person, this human being of him, it just showed the strength of his heart, the bigness of his heart, how much he cares for other people. And that is so amazing. And that's the kind of thing that I think Thorfinn now in the present day has lost sight of. He's kind of lost the idea of his father. He's lost the morals of his father and what his father stood for, just all in the name of vengeance, which is, again, so tragic for Thorfinn. So to say that act of kindness was absolutely beautiful. And it's going to make it even harder when we do see Thor's die, which, now that we know that it happens, like we definitely know he dies, it makes this whole backstory part of it just stand out even more, because now I'm anticipating it happen. Now I'm anticipating Askeladd showing up and just seeing those two on the page. Oh my god, like the tension is rife. It is rife. I've forgotten to mention, I mean, this is set in Iceland, which is so amazing considering I'm right here. But I love the illustration style of this, honestly. A lot of the snowy landscapes is absolutely fantastic. I saw the Aurora Borealis in this too, which I might not get to see in person because of the bad weather, with it being so overcast. But there's a beautiful talk between Thors and Thorfinn about like where people go and if Finland exists in a way. There is this beautiful moment here when Thors and Thorfinn are talking and they're burying the slave. And you do see the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis in the background. It's just stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. Oh, and then this one as well, this full page one. It's so beautiful. So I kind of ended my section with Floki. Floki has shown up and he mentions that, well, in private, that Thor's was a deserter, and that just added even more layers to Thor's, because I did not think he was the kind of person to do that. So he is definitely becoming a lot more complex, but now he's being called to action, he's being called to war, and they're going with the official story that he is a hero. And you see how proud Thorfinn is, like the look on his face when one of his friends says, your paw must be something special, and he just lights up. Like, you can really see the connection between son and father and how strong that love and bond between them is. And it was just a small moment as well of just like Thorfinn's face of pride. So, oh god, like I'm really anticipating the look on his face when that happens, So now I believe a few of the villagers are going to Jomsburg. It's the Joms Vikings that came with Floki and are bringing people with them. So Thors really doesn't have a choice, which is a little sad. But then you do see, it's so cute, Thorfinn just start whacking all of his friends because he needs to be a strong warrior. Even though when you are supposed to play dead, you're supposed to be lying down playing dead. But no, Thorfinn is like, boom, boom, boom. And everyone's like, what's wrong with them? What's wrong with them? That was so funny. That was so good. But it really just highlight how much Thorfinn wants to be with his father and wants to go on this journey with his father. So if that means speeding, growing up and becoming a strong warrior, then by God, he will do it. So I'm about to head out to some glaciers today, maybe. Some more waterfalls and amazing things in Iceland. I want to bring this with me. I want to read some more on the bus. Today was a day. It was so windy. In fact, I'll put some footage to show you exactly how windy it was. I was going to do a update outside. I wanted to give you some thoughts outside, actually in Iceland, but the wind today made it impossible for me to be able to talk to the camera without the really loud rushing wind noises. Because I was reading on the bus, I read 4 more chapters. I have finished chapter 10. I'm about to start chapter 11. I'm getting scared. I'm getting so scared, I'm not gonna lie. We're in a place now where the father, Let me back up for a second. Let me back up. I thought it would be a perfect point to end it on because I hadn't read up to this point before. So this is all brand new information. But Thor's is now in like mortal danger. Like that's what it feels like anyway. So Floki did end up getting Thor's to go and head off so that he can rejoin whatever army he's with. And so Thor's is taking 4 or 5 men with him and like he's leaving and all of that. So he does have a talk with Thorfinn first, which I found so incredible because it's Thorfinn, like he really does want to be a warrior and he wants to join his father. But when he gets the sword, this amazing moment between them happens where Thorfinn finds his father's blade and he grabs it, and then there's this look on Thor's face when he sees Thorfinn with it, and he's like, a sword is a tool for killing. Why would you want a sword? And then Thorfinn says to kill enemies, and Thor says, and who is your enemy? You have no enemies. No one has enemies. And I found that so, like, just considering we have Thorfinn at the very start of this story with an enemy is trying to kill, and yet we have his father teaching Thorfinn, no one has enemies. A sword is a tool for killing, like you don't need to kill anyone. And Thorfinn in the future totally opposes that. How do we get to that point? Why does he oppose it so much? Everything his father stands for is what Thorfinn is working against right now in the present day or whatever in the future. And that's why when Thorfinn also ends up on that ship, I fucking knew it. I knew it. When they couldn't find Thorfinn, when his father was about to go off, and they're like, where is he? Like, he hasn't come to say goodbye. It was fishy. It was fishy. I knew it. I knew he was in that bloody box. It actually reminded me of One Piece. You know, when Thorfinn just comes out of the barrel and he's just like, oh, you know, I'm here. Like, it just reminded me of Luffy. It reminded me of Luffy in One Piece. So I'm saying parallels to Berserk and One Piece, two of my favourite manga series of all time. So that's really good. There was just no way that he wouldn't say goodbye to his father, especially since the family itself, like the mother, the sister, who I haven't really talked about, but they are pretty good. Like the mother has been a little bit underutilized, but there was this moment when we go back to another flashback when I think her name is Ylva. It goes back to a flashback when Helga first gives birth to her. And Thor's just seems so dismissive. He's like, oh, give me a son next time. I don't have time to name her. And then Helga stood her ground. She's just given birth and she's like, pick a name. Oh, chills. And I was like, she's been so underutilized so far. We haven't really seen much of Helga. So I hope in the future, like we know what happens to the dad, but we have no idea what happens to the mother or the sister that I know of. So I'm very excited to learn if they both are still alive, you know, 10 years in the future, how they react to Thor's death and what they think of Thorfinn doing what he's doing now. Do they even know he's alive? You know, there are so many questions running in my head there. But yeah, I loved it when Helga was, you know, very strict with her husband. And yeah, Thorfinn's sister, when all of the like guys of the village are like, hey, so I have something to ask before I go and things like that. And she's like, am I the only young pretty girl in town kind of thing? It was so funny. I love her. Like she has such a great personality. The way that she reacts to things is just so relatable. Like she doesn't really want to do the work. And like fair, like in a previous chapter when she's, you know, doing a lot of the housework and she's like, when will Thorfinn grow up so that he can also take some of the chores off my hands? She is just like me for real. And I'm also the only young pretty girl in town. Oh, but Floki. So he was the one, at least I'm sure his name was Floki, I might be getting it wrong now, but the guy who first went to Thor's and got him out of that village now, the one who's setting off Thor's destiny, Floki, he is the one who hired Askeladd to kill him after he's just gone up to Thor's and it was like, hey, this is the official story we're going to sell. You are going to be a hero, blah, blah, blah. Lies. Absolute lies. And the shadows on his face was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Because I'm like, what do you mean just kill Thor's? Are you telling me all of this is because of you? Does Thorfinn know that now? Is he only going after Askeladd? Does he even know that Floki is the one who kind of put out the hit on him? I did have my eye on him. I was a little bit suspicious of him, but I didn't think he would be the one to literally straight up tell Askeladd, kill the father, kill Thor's. I didn't think that at all. But yeah, where I've left it now, my heart is in my mouth. Let's turn back leaf. I don't like the feel of this place. The terrain is bad for us as well. He's feeling it. He's feeling it. And even the people watching who are about to ambush, yeah, hey, they're turning around. They're onto us. Like, oh, God. I don't want to continue. The end. It's over now. So yeah, my prediction is there's going to be an ambush. Thorfinn is going to be taken as prisoner by Askeladd. And because of that, Thor's will lose his life. So in a way, Thorfinn is to blame for his father's death, in a way. Like, I wouldn't blame him, he's only a child, even though he's very annoying. I'm not gonna lie, younger Thorfinn is quite annoying. I mean, I get it, he loves his father, he wants to go out on the sea, but he's fucking annoying. Me and the tour group that I'm with are going to a peninsula tour tomorrow, so I'm going to try and read some more on the bus. I should be able to. I had so much time, it's like so much more time to read today that I didn't read more because I got to this point and I was like, okay, I kind of want to stop now because I really want to give an update, but then it was just too windy to give an update and then I couldn't read more on the bus back and oh gosh. There was so much wasted time today, but it's fine. It's fine. I still have plenty of time in Iceland. Still here for another couple of days. So that will probably mean I will see you in the next hotel that I'm in because I seem to be in a different one every night. Guys, I got too scared to continue reading on the bus. I finished chapter 13. I only have 3 chapters to go. I easily could have finished on the bus, but I couldn't do it in public. I know what's going to happen and it's going to tear me apart. And I didn't want people to see me in that state. So yeah, so I read, I think 3 more chapters. I think chapter 11, 12, and 13 I just read. Thor's is amazing. Oh my god, Thor's is amazing. The bollocks on that man. The balls on that man, seriously. The way that he just like punches people and he just like gets people aware and he's just like, he's a force of nature, he's a monster. And he's so incredible to see. And I feel like as well with Thorfinn being there, I can only imagine how scared he is as he's, you know, looking like some kind of badass. I bet he's terrified inside because of Thorfinn. I swear I'm not going to blame a child, but as much as I love the fact that he stood up to Askeladd and called him, what was it, like a piece of poop? Like, amazing. Love that. Thorfinn, you're iconic for that moment. But again, Thor's is not going to come out of this alive. And I still don't know exactly how that happens. But now Askeladd and Thor's are face to face. Oh my god. The panel where Askeladd sees Thor's and Thor sees him. Literally, my butthole is clenched. It is clenched. I don't want to talk too loudly because I've got people in the next hotel room. My butt has never been more clenched. Begone, pirates, you cannot defeat me. The confidence that Thor's, and honestly, he does come across as this amazing warrior. Like, he is fantastic. And he isn't even the kind of warrior who just wants to kill and just be an awful person. He's the absolute opposite. He has such strong morals. He's got such a good heart. And he just stands out among everyone else here. And now I'm getting that parallel with Thorfinn asking for a duel because Thor has asked Askeladd for a duel. Yeah, I seek a duel with you. If you win, do as you will. If I win, take your men and leave this place at once. And I freaking love that Askeladd asks, mind if I ask you a question first? What makes you think I am their leader? And then Thor says, the smell. That was so funny. That was hilarious. But yeah, the parallel between Thor's asking Askeladd for a duel and Thorfinn asking Askeladd for a duel in the present day / 10 years later is so cool. And it does make me think, and at this point, I'm like, does Askeladd cheat? Does he cheat or what? Because it seems like Thor's is unstoppable right now. Or does he take Thorfinn hostage? And the only way that he can get Thorfinn to safety is if he allows Askeladd to win and thus killing Thor's. I've got so many theories brewing in my brain and I'm scared of all of the alternatives, honestly. I'm scared of all of the answers. It doesn't surprise me that Askeladd doesn't have wife and kids. I know he has an uncle who is a little bit weird. I want to keep my eye on him because 10 years later when he's counting all the money and stuff, he just seems like someone who might stab someone in the back. He seems a little bit too obsessed with money. So I found that rather interesting that Askeladd doesn't have a family, but it does mean that he can't really feel what it feels like to be a father and to protect a child. So that did not work out in Thor's favor at all when he asked Askeladd if he has a wife and kids. I don't think Askeladd is going to be rational or empathetic about Thor's situation. 3 chapters to go. 3 chapters to go. I'm dreading it. Absolutely dreading it.
I might just read the 3 again. Well, I don't know. We'll see what happens at the end of this. I might.
You bastards. You motherfucking bastards. I finished the first volume. Read the first 16 chapters. I knew it was coming. I'm gutted. I'm gutted by how it unfolded. Because he won. Thor's won his duel as soon as he threw that sword in the freaking water. I just knew it. And then that fucker with the berserker thing grabbing Thorfinn, I knew that as well. I knew part of the reason why Thor's would die is because of Thorfinn, which is awful for me to say. But come on, if Thorfinn wasn't there, then again, I feel like even if Thorfinn wasn't there, if that berserker guy had grabbed any of the other from Thor's ship fleet village, then I feel like Thor would still try and not have bloodshed, or at least not kill Askeladd. I'm gutted. I'm like actually gutted. But oh my god, how amazing is the panel? Like, oh, my heart in my throat when all the arrows, when it, I turned the page and I saw and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. I was reading it out in the communal area with other people reading as well. And I just went, you fucking bastard. I did. I said out loud, you fucking bastard. Like, oh, I'm fucking gutted. That's just awful. Absolutely awful. And Thor's was a machine. He was so good at fighting. And it was so cool as well to see Thorfinn just like being so proud of his dad, being like, yeah, dad, you know, it's just, oh. I can imagine it's just as emotional in the anime. I can imagine that's pretty good. But the way that Thor's fought was very tactical in the way that, you know, he got Askeladd to break his kind of sword and then break his too. And then Askeladd is like, oh, I danced to his tune kind of thing. Like, none of that fight went Askeladd's way, really. And Thor's was pretty much a one-man show during that entire thing. That was so cool. That was so freaking epic. And Askeladd as well, he's better than I let on. See, I thought Askeladd wasn't as good as he was letting on. I thought he was all talk, no play. But his fight with Thor's, even though, you know, he kind of played the melody that Thor's was swinging, he still fought pretty well in my opinion. I still thought he did pretty well. And he does have a lot of nerve to put on the face that he does and be able to command that entire fleet of his own men. Like, that does take skill, and I do think he is very skilled. But he also is a bit of a lowlife. Like, he cheated in a way. Thor's did win the duel. I'm just like looking at it again. I'm gutted. I'm actually gutted. This is what did me in. This is what did me in. The way he's just standing upright. He reminds me of a character from One Piece again. I'm going to always compare to like One Piece Berserk. There is a character from One Piece who Thor's kind of reminds me of, but I'll not say because spoilers for the actual series. And then just, father is dead. And then look at Thorfinn as well. Look at his eyes. Even the people, Askeladd's men, who sees Thorfinn across the ship, even they're like, oh my god, his eyes are scary. Like, yeah, Thorfinn has now changed. He is going to avenge his dad, and it's just changed the entire course of his destiny. He's scary. Thorfinn is actually scary. He's scaring me, and he's a child. And I know now, 10 years later, that he will continue to try and avenge his dad. I'm so invested in that. I really am. I'm invested in the revenge. I'm invested in Vinland. Like, more so now than ever. And now I have to wait for Book Bloody 2 to read it. But I don't know if this is unpopular opinion or not, but Thorfinn annoyed the fuck out of me in this volume. He annoyed the actual fuck out of me. See, I'm not the biggest fan of children. And so I'm not really the biggest fan of child characters. Like, don't get me wrong, I love my niece and nephews. I do. But when it comes to children in media, children in literature, I'm not always the biggest fan of them. And Thorfinn as a child, I understand. I do. But he annoyed me a lot. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion or not. So I do apologize if you guys love child Thorfinn. But my gut instinct is telling me that while he didn't intentionally get his father killed, he did have somewhat of a hand in it by stowing away on his ship and putting his father in a really tough position, which is exactly what I predicted. So in that way, like this volume, like I enjoyed it a lot. It wasn't the best to begin with. It did take a little while to get into it. I did find some of it predictable, but I am definitely going to continue. I would probably give this like a 3.5 stars out of 5. I initially thought 4 stars, but I do think it was a little bit slower than I wanted. And that's fine, honestly, because I really do feel now by the 16th chapter, I'm all in. I'm definitely all in. Just not my favorite like first volume of anything. And I would love to check out the anime too, to see how different it is and if the music helps to enhance in like the art style and stuff. Can't wait to see how that looks. But yeah, I've got no more words left to say about this. Ugh. I am going to be mourning those for a little while, so please give me, some time to grieve. And yeah, just genuinely so happy and excited that I read the first omnibus volume of this in Iceland. Amazing. Really helped to elevate the setting and the atmosphere and the themes of Vinland Saga. And that, my friends, is the end of my video. So I will be checking out more Vinland Saga. So please do like this video if you enjoy, subscribe if you haven't already for more Vinland Saga in the future, as well as other manga series that I'm doing for reading vlogs pretty much like this. I'm not traveling to loads of different countries to read them in that country or anything, but I took the opportunity to bring this along with me when I came to Iceland, and I'm glad I did. So please do leave all your comments down below and let me know what you thought of Vinland Saga, and if you are excited to see me continue. Maybe let me know your favourite moment from the first omnibus edition of Vinland Saga up to chapter 16. No spoilers, please. Also, do you like Thorfinn as a child? Am I totally out of pocket by saying he's annoying? But yeah, hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye.